Hello. Welcome. First family
One.
with our new little buddy.
Aja, baby.
Can you say hi? Yeah. Is that Auntie Joycey and everyone?
Baby. Hey, John Everest.
Isn't that amazing? Can you say hello?
Hey, baby. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Say thank you for coming. My name is Everest. I'm a 100,000-year-old shaman. I have traveled through many dimensions to be here in this time-space reality. I'm very talkative. So during your meditation today, you're probably going to hear me making my sounds. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You say hello, everyone. This is my first official 360 chat as a mommy. So very excited to bring our new little buddy on board. Look at him. Look at his little visage. Oh my goodness.
Oh, muted. You couldn't hear me.
Oh,
Hi, hi, everyone.
hi, Auntie Joyce.
Hi, Jen.
So good to have you guys here. Thank you for being here. Really excited to talk to you today. Thank you especially to Bella for suggesting this. I probably wouldn't have had it come through as strongly intuitively if she did not suggest it. But as soon as she did, I was like, oh, yes, we need to chat. It is a very important time for everyone of the year. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about this upcoming vernal equinox. This year, it comes a little early, 2 days earlier than usual because we have a leap year. So we usually have the first of spring happening around the 21st, but this year it's on the 19th. So just 2 days from now. So before we jump into all that, we're going to start with just like a little centering meditation. Like I said, you may hear some baby squeals, so just allow them to be part of your meditative experience. Just get started by sitting comfortably, letting your eyes fall closed whenever it feels good, and starting just taking some nice breaths here, bringing your awareness to that breath. Notice the feeling of that breath coming into the chest, start to tune into the feeling of your heartbeat. Just finding some stillness to be present in this current moment, releasing everything else. Call into your field of visualization the image of a seed being planted. Take a moment to feel yourself patting down the soil, burying, planting your seed. Now take your mind in the darkness to that seed under the soil. And I want you to send energy to it until you see it begin to sprout and change. Yeah. And grow roots. And begin to grow. And I want you to travel with it as it starts to push its way up through the topsoil, following the stem or the stalk as it pushes its way up and out. Travel with it. Notice the leaves. And finally, take notice of what grows here. Do you have a flower? Do you have a plant? Do you have a tree? What color? What shape? What size? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And as you're studying your new planted, growing flower or tree or whatever you've grown here, I want you to start to embrace the energy of transformation, of change. The energy of growth and of spring. Now, as you're focusing on this singular thing that you've grown, I want you to start to back up and let your field of vision get wider. And as it does, I want you to start to see 2 and then 4 and then 6 and then 8 of this plant or this flower or this tree just multiplying and becoming a huge field or forest. Just becoming engulfed in this growth, in this creation. Just be really present with it. And take a look around the environment that you're standing in now. Notice if it's sunny, if it's raining, if it's bright, if it's dark. Is it loud? Is it quiet? Is there wind? Is it very still? Just take a moment in this visualization with all of this that you've grown and notice what's around, what you can sense, what you can see. Take a few more moments here, just in calmness, in presence. Let your breaths get deeper, your body become more relaxed. Find ease in knowing that you are a creator. That the energy that creates world flows through you and to you. That you're in exactly the right place at the exact right time. That you are perfect and whole. One more deep breath here, and on the exhale, you can let your eyes open and come back to this present moment. Hello, hello. So excited. I'm so excited to see you guys. If you want now to write down any little notes of anything you might have seen in that visualization, any little things that came through, colors, it's a highly, it's an intuitive time that we're entering into on the planet with this vernal equinox that's coming up. So it's a good time to take note of things that maybe you think are not a big deal or things that you're like, oh, that was just a small thing. It's kind of a good idea to start taking note and seeing how those things come back around. This also might seem green, interesting. This might seem kind of strange, but I woke this morning, and then a few minutes after I woke up, as I started to like meditate and channel for the chat, I got a pain at the top of my stomach, kind of above my belly button. And I started to feel like maybe it was somebody who was coming to the chat that was having abdominal discomfort. So I don't know if anyone out there is experiencing that, but pain kind of higher up in the belly. And I asked what the source of this abdominal pain was. And the answer came back that it was related to diet and something that you're eating that is specifically not working for your digestion. So if anybody is having that experience, that answer came through. I'm sure that that pain wasn't mine. So looks like Charlie, it was yours. So yeah, just maybe think and consider what maybe what maybe you've been eating. Celery juice is a good start. Is it normal to smell coffee in the middle of a sunflower field? You guys saw great things. Tulips, big pink flowers, Zoe and her roses. That's so beautiful. Lots of pinks, lots of greens, lots of yellows. Really cool. Is it normal to smell coffee? Yeah, of course it is. I mean, anything's normal. It's your visualization. So maybe there's something to that. Look who fell asleep during the visualization. He's holding my fingers and snoozing. He's so funny. Willow trees, I love that. Tall grass and a green and water. Wow, we had great visualizations today. That's awesome. So I really wanted to tune you guys into this energy of growth, of transformation, of the understanding that, you know, growth is a beautiful thing, but first that seed is planted in very dark soil, right? And then it forces its way out, right, as it sprouts, first out into the ground to lay a foundation in the roots, and then eventually up through that topsoil. And that's a struggle. That's not such an easy journey for that seedling, probably, right? And then it's up against a lot of things as it forges its way up. And it still perseveres and grows because that is the natural order, right, for growth and for change. So it's just something to consider, that just because things seem dark or they seem difficult doesn't mean that they're not growing. Actually, it's probably a good sign that they are. So it's a really important thing to kind of keep track of this season. We have we have an equinox in just a couple of days, and then an eclipse shortly after that. So like I said, this year, the equinox for us is on March 19th. So on the vernal equinox, we have the northern hemisphere of the planet switching into spring and summer, and the southern hemisphere transitions into fall and winter, which gives us that equal balance as the planet changes in halves, right? And equinox also comes from a Latin word, two Latin words that mean equal night. So it's meant to be the time that we have on that day specifically, we have a pretty nice balance between day and night. People used to believe it was exactly the same amount of day and night. Now we know it's not quite, but it's pretty close. And from this transition here in the northern hemisphere of the planet, we'll begin to see more light on Earth as the spring and summer seasons commence. So we have this experience of more light, which typically also ushers in more vigor, more you know, brightness, more momentum, more what's this word I'm looking for? Motivation, right? Everything starts moving forward and growing forward and expanding through the summer months. So I think just really a couple summers ago, I gave this speech, but said that I didn't feel that that was actually going to happen, that the world was going to kind of still remain in a stagnancy, sort of. We might have moments of growth, but there would be an overall feeling of kind of a stagnancy. And I do think that kind of happened that year as well. But this year, I don't feel that as much. I feel a lot more forward momentum for us as a collective. I channeled some messages for all of us yesterday, so I'm going to tell you guys what I channeled in terms of those messages. Was really interesting. But so we're thinking a lot, specifically as the equinox comes, about balance, about how we pull things into balance, how balance ultimately is where we create power from, right? In the extremes and the severes, there's a lot to learn, but there's a lot of imbalance, and we get that big feeling of like switching from this side to that side and this side to that side, big seesaw kind of energy when we're living in the extreme. And yes, we can learn a lot from that. We can actually also create a lot of creative power from that, but it is not the way that we are the most powerful, right? So as we come back to the center of balance, we find a lot more strength and ability to lay foundations and roots and go back to the foundations we've already laid and do that work to kind of restructure that foundation so we can move forward on more stable footing. So there are a few things you can do as this equinox is coming forward, which for us is again on the 19th. And one of those things you can do to kind of bring in and usher in this energy is build an altar. An altar is just any spot. It doesn't have to be like a big crazy thing or religious thing, just any place in your house. It could be even a little corner of a countertop that you'll see every day that can embody these energies for you. So the transition into the spring season is also met with a transition into Aries season. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Jason's celebrating, my Aries man over there. It is the baby of the zodiac. It is the first zodiac sign, meaning that the new year actually begins today. Yeah, Auntie, I see you have an altar there for Zoe. For spring, you can add some flowers like red, orange, yellow, Gerber daisies, things that are in that fiery color element are really great to put out on your altar. Also, one of the themes of this transition is like your cup is full, right? Or your cup is half full if you want to see it from an optimistic perspective. But you can actually put out cups of water or cups of liquid as offerings and as reminders to yourself that there is a plentiful amount of, flow coming towards us, right? So you can also put out any stones that you have in those colors. If you have carnelian or any colors in red, citrine, any red, orange, yellow stones, it's a good time to lay those out, along with any words or, anything that really holds the meaning of growth, transformation, power to you. It's a good time to put that out. So as you guys know, it's actually the beginning of the astrological new year. So something I'm always saying is that, we celebrate this new year, this Gregorian calendar new year on January 1st, but really that doesn't make a ton of sense. On January 1st, we're still in the dead of winter. Things are dead. It is not a time for growth. It is not a time for change. It is still a good time to set some intentions, right? Because like seeds, intentions take time to sprout. So if you set intentions on the 31st, which we usually do, right? We create a vibration board around that time. We just don't expect that as the calendar and the clock ticks on January 1st, that everything is going to begin to move. We're still in a dormant phase. We're still in winter until 2 days from now, when the astrological new year actually begins and everything starts moving. So it's very likely that you're going to start to see those seeds that you planted back in January start coming up now. Unless you've lost patience with them already and decided it's a lost cause and you've failed, then those seeds probably need to be replanted, right? So it's a good time now to go check on what you planted, remind yourself what you planted, and see if it's still in alignment, and make sure that it's still in there, still in there, right? In a nice, safe place, getting ready, because it's about to be watered and it's about to spring up. So the other thing you can do is fill your cup physically, right, to prepare for this transition. Do things that really feel good to you, right? If that's reading a book, if it's getting a manicure, if it's spending some time outside, if it's going for walks, if it's listening to music, whatever it is, really start trying to fill your cup, coming out of that hibernation, out of that laziness that darkness brings. And just slowly, right? We don't have to quickly transition and start becoming like health and wellness gurus or anything, but just slow, small transitions. Having a celery juice is a great example of a nice slow transition. Start switching your habits towards feel-good habits that really fill your cup and make you feel good, right? The things that you should be investing most of your time in, but that often get lost, right? A good time also to spring clean your space, create space. Remember, that's not only your physical space, your home, your car, but also your wardrobe, your electronics, spring clean your relationships, start letting go of things that really don't resonate anymore, that you're just kind of clinging to out of habit, and begin to like release all that. It can also be releasing mindsets and releasing old patterns and old ways of being, things that have been coming up that you're like, you know what, I really just don't like this aspect of me right now. It's not in alignment. It doesn't resonate. I'm going to start really letting it go, right? And so starting that process of spring cleaning your energy, your aura, your space, etc. And then just remembering this specific time is not about massive shifts, right? Like I said before, it's not about turning around tomorrow and eating 100% clean and having a space that's immaculate and only doing feel good thing. It's about making small shifts, right? Even it might be things that you still have to do. You might still need to go to the same job, or you might still need to do the same chores, but doing them in a way that feels a little bit better each time is the type of shifts that we're talking about, right? So actually just this morning, I was listening to Abraham a little bit, and she was talking about how just do the first thing that comes up, right? Maybe you get the feeling to go get a coffee or to, take a walk. Just go do that. Don't worry about how that leads to other good feeling things. Just go do the first good feeling thing and trust that it's putting you into a momentum that you're going to need, and that it's getting you where you're trying to go, even if you don't understand logically how that's happening. So small scale shifts, not massive ones. So I started channeling a message for everyone. I'm gonna end up looking like this. So a lot of you guys maybe don't know, but when I channel, usually I'll like kind of be writing, and I'm just like scribble writing kind of, and getting message after message and words and sometimes colors and pictures that come through. And I was seeing a lot of energy coming through in colors and in all kinds of things. I can't believe him asleep like this. He's so cute. So a lot of what came through specifically as I asked the channel for this group was that at this exact moment in time, we are kind of at a crossroads with the father figure. So the emperor, this archetype of the emperor kind of comes up, which is the father of the tarot. And I was really interested to see that, especially because I believe this time last year, I was really fixated and considering the energy of the divine feminine, and that was coming through so strongly. And I was kind of really surprised to see this divine masculine energy come through. So what this means is this is asking you to consider any issues about yourself regarding the divine masculine energy. So this could be the divine masculine in you. This divine masculine is basically your logic, your action, your assertiveness, your leadership, and your healthy expression of power, How can we be powerful without being controlling, right? Those are two very different things. So it might be a good time to take a look at that, right? Where am I not logical enough, and where am I too logical? Where am I not taking enough action? Where am I taking too much action, right? Either of those things will show you where you are out of balance or out of alignment with the divine masculine energy within you. It might also be asking you to call into consideration your relationships with men or with the male species, right? Which could go into your romantic relationships, your friendships, your coworkers, and also into your father or grandfather, right? So how you're having relationships with them, how relationships with them have impacted you up to this point, what beliefs or truths that has, been embodied by you as a result of those relationships is really an important time to consider that. Because what I'm feeling is a lot of our stuckness is an imbalance of our masculine energy, and an imbalance of the way that we are outwardly presenting that masculine energy and the way we are interacting with masculine energy. And that's going to be something we really want to get together as we transition into the spring season. So basically what I saw was we're going to have a time here between the 19th at this vernal equinox and the 8th, which is going to be our next eclipse. And in between there is the time that we should really be focusing and working through these issues with our divine masculinity, right? And it makes a lot of sense as the message continued to channel. I understood why that was and why we're going to need these skills as this season ticks on. But basically the point here is that we want to come to a point where we're focused, we're purpose driven, and we are building that strong foundation that I spoke about when we started seeing that seed put roots into the ground. We're wanting to put healthier roots down for the foundation of this next season that we're moving into. So on the 8th, by the 8th, this eclipse time, we're going to get this feeling of more freedom, more movement, momentum, and flow forward. And we're going to need that flow. Okay, so the first thing that starts to happen when your divine masculine energy is out of balance is that you try to resist the flow. So as you guys know, I always talk about the flow being the feminine energy, right? If you picture the river, the force of the flow is the feminine energy. And the kind of oars in the river that are steering the boat is the masculine energy, right? The masculine energy is using structure and discipline to make the flow maximized, right? But when your divine masculine is out of alignment, that flow makes you afraid, right? That flow causes you to kind of dig your oars in and be like, nah, we're going too fast. I'm afraid. I want to slow things down. I want to control. Potentially, I want to even turn around and start going upstream, right? Kind of exhausting myself by resisting this flow of energy. So really important that we're starting to balance that divine masculine so that we actually can maximize this flow that's coming for us on the 8th. And this time is going to be characterized by that feeling of like, I'm busy, but it's good busy, right? So many great things kind of coming up. The number one message that's in all caps here says, do not try to slow down, right? The way you will burn yourself out or miss what's coming for you this season is to attempt to control the tempo or the pace of it. It's kind of just too bad. Just deal with it. Yeah. And he just pooped right as I said that. So I feel like that definitely means that something is in alignment, right? He literally just pooped in his diaper. So poop on the truth. So yeah, do not try to slow down and remove distractions, right? So how can we embrace the flow? By kind of just being present with what is without allowing there to be too many distractions. It's a great time to kind of tune out of Netflix, give yourself social media restrictions, tune out of the external world and distractions that we give into a lot during the winter season so that we can tune into the self and we can tune into this big flow, where it's going, how it's feeling, and we can really get into the excitement of it, right? It's really no different. I use the whitewater rafting, visual a lot. And whenever I can on retreats, I want to take people whitewater rafting because it is such a great embodiment and depiction of the way that it looks to be in alignment with the divine. The divine is a racing, rushing river. And if you're not giving into it and using your oar to steer a little bit and have fun, then you are gripping and you are miserable and you're going to come out really, really unhappy from that experience. This season will be no different than that. Yeah, you will come out either exhausted or refreshed, your choice. Another thing that came through here was how to maximize this was finish one thing before you start another. So something that's going to happen is large scale inspiration, right? You're going to start feeling like, oh, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this. Don't do that. Pick the first one that feels the most aligned, begin that and complete it before you go into the next thing. What you can do is be keeping a note and be keeping a log of all the inspirations that are coming through so you don't miss them, right? But make sure that you prioritize the one that feels the most current, the most present, and the most powerful in the present moment, right? Because we have a habit of, so the way kind of inspiration works with the divine is that it'll give you a seedling of inspiration, right? Actually, I didn't really think of it this way when I gave you that visualization at the beginning, but you know how the divine works. And it really starts with just that one thing. And then as you tune in and hyper focus on that thing, it begins to kind of multiply in your sphere and you'll get to start to see all of the things that can come of it in your vortex. That's beautiful, but you need all that stuff to sprout in its own time, right? You need to focus on the one and let that one point of entry allow everything else to flow. Typically, we get so excited by the knowing that there's more that we don't focus on the point of entry and we're just distracted like squirrels and nothing really gets done. And then we miss all the momentum of the season and it's like, try again next year. So to avoid that, focus on the one. Trust that the many is coming, you know, that the growth is coming. But it won't come if you can't just focus on the one thing first. So another thing that came through besides finish one thing before you start another is strike while the iron is hot. Don't hesitate. When you get that first instinct that this is the point of entry, this is the thing I'm meant to begin with it. Okay. It does mean other projects are going to have to wait. It doesn't matter. They're not going to be waiting long. They're just in queue. And when it's ready, everything will come together at once. But you're waiting for the point of entry to reveal itself for you. And as soon as it does, you have to strike while the iron is hot. It is not the season for questioning and what if, and let me consult all my friends, let me journal, let me meditate. All that's over. You had time for that over the winter, whether you know it or not, you planted seeds. And don't be afraid that you had negative thoughts or this or that. That's not really how we plant seeds in the environment, right? That's how we create realities, but it's not how we plant seeds. So your hopes, your heart of hearts, the things that you really want for yourself, they're already out there, right? Now is the season that they're going to try to grow. So you're either going to let them grow and you're going to go with the inspiration, or you're going to pull them out and weed them and screw yourself and have to start over. That's your own decision how you want to do your gardening. But I recommend let them grow, yeah, and go with it and strike while that iron is hot. The other thing that came through really quickly in this season, this March, April season, is air travel, some type of trip, short-term travel, vacation, but some kind of like whirlwind trip. It's going to be like, oh, we got there, wowza, that was like it's giving 360 abroad energy where you just get there and then you're just in a whirlwind and you go home and you're like, it's going to take me 3 weeks to figure out what the fuck just happened. So there's a trip like that on the horizon, either one that you're going to book or one that is actually going to come up for you in that period of time. If it does, know it's aligned, just go. So the next thing that came through here was, as this point of entry begins, like as we're starting on this journey, one of the major themes and needs for this particular season of like this year's spring summer is going to be teamwork, right? I'm seeing units of 3 being the strongest thread, right? So no more than 3. We don't need to be in teams of 20 or 30, but collaborative efforts with groups up to 3 is going to be a big part of the way that you accomplish whatever is being laid out for you, right? It's bringing us back to this energy of the Trinity, this Father, Son, Holy Spirit kind of energy. And it's going to be very important to create synergy with others for a larger result and for a larger purpose. So the idea of these collaborations is that we're going to find a lot of value in different ideas and levels of experience. So I think one of the ways that the external world has begun to program us against collaboration is with social media and with the numbers on social media. So it started out that when social media came to be, like especially Instagram, nobody was anybody. So the fun of just making a video with somebody or creating an idea and putting it into practice with somebody was just really for the creative aspect of, I really want to just create something with you. Like it'll be fun, it'll be cathartic, it'll be maybe powerful for somebody else. But once social media began to give numbers to people, they decided, well, I'm not going to collaborate with you because you have less numbers than me. And there's really no benefit in that for me, right? And while we don't realize that that ideology has infiltrated so much of how we feel, it has. So we end up feeling like, I don't really want to collaborate or work with anybody that's beneath me, right? That's either has less experience than me, that's younger than me, that has less numbers or growth or success than me. And in that way, we've really been limiting our ability to create for the sake of creation, to find the value in everyone and to find the value in the self, right? So remember, when we assign value or worth to somebody's numbers or metrics on a scale, how far along we believe that they are in the scheme of things, we also begin to hold ourselves to that scale of value and worth. And that is where things become really detrimental and dangerous. So you might have had a moment in time where you're like, oh, I'd really like to create with that person, but they wouldn't create with me because they're a professional and I'm not, or because they've been doing it for 10 years and I haven't, right? So you don't even ask, you don't even attempt, you don't even put it out there, right? And so obviously the answer is always no. And honestly, in that case, you really could never have as much experience as someone who started before you. So that collaboration, even if you feel called to it, could really never come to pass. So the goal of these collaborations is humble cooperation. It's understanding the value in everyone's experience level, right? It's understanding that just like when we go on a retreat, I learn as much from anyone coming on the retreat as they learn from me. It doesn't matter if I've been studying spirituality for 15 years and they've been studying it for 15 minutes. There's a value in our experience being mirrored to each other, because what that person can show me is what I looked like 15 minutes in. That's valuable, because often I need to do work on a past self, or I need to recognize a past cycle that I have not completely closed to actually continue to ascend. So if I'm always looking completely forward, deadpan on what I think is the front, that also is illusion, right? It is an illusion, because these paths are not straightforward paths, right? They are spinning, they are spiraling, they are going up, they are going down, they are going sideways, they're helixes that overlap. The pattern is a divine pattern, much more like one of the sacred patterns that I would show you guys when we did our sacred geometry, than like a straight road that goes this way to the top of the mountain. It doesn't work that way. So to project that I'm here and you're here, and therefore until you're here, you're not valuable to me, is a mistake to everyone that you're missing the opportunity to work with, and a mistake for yourself, because you're missing a lot of perspective here, right? So that's hard to convince people of. Often I try to convince people of their value to me, they'll be like, oh, you're spiritual this, and you've done all the spiritual work, and I haven't done as much work as you. And they automatically start to kind of like make themselves inferior in some way. And I'm like, that's a mistake. Don't do that to you, and don't do that to anybody else. We need humble cooperation to accomplish the scale and scope of what we're being shown this season. So not only will it help your external project, but it will help your internal projection of value, worth, what's worthy of your time. It'll help you break some of this programming that money, status, followers, numbers, years of practice, whatever we're valuing people on, is not quite what you think it is, and that you're bringing value all the time, just the same way everyone else is, and focusing on that. So a lot of finding the value at everyone in the table, starting with yourself. Sorry, this message came through fast and furious, so I'm just channeling it back out. So the last thing that came through here, I asked, how do we make this transition from now through the eclipse on the 8th? And like, what is it really going to take for us to work through these divine masculine wounds, work through our divine masculine energy, our relationship with the divine masculine? What's that really going to require? And I pulled a card. I pulled the Four of Swords, which was interesting because I channeled a personal message for a client right before that, friend, client, buddy. And also when I asked how do they accomplish the shift they needed to make, the Four of Swords came up the same card. If you have a tarot deck, it's quite weird to ask a question both for an individual and then the collective and pull the same card, right? But it's interesting because that individual is part of this collective. So weird or not weird, I don't know. But the Four of Swords energy is a lot of rest. It's a lot of, separate, travel someplace new, change your perspective, focus on what is loving, what is working, what is charitable, give, basically get out of your own way so that the picture can reveal itself to you. And then allow the healing to facilitate itself, right? Like I said, often the way spirituality gets lost with people is we're a bunch of type A doers. And so we start handling our healing like we handle our grocery shopping, right? Wake up, meditate, build altar, go here, go there, be this, look relaxed, and that's how we're healing. It's not any more than like go deep, do the shadow work, write about it. That's not necessarily the healing either. Not to say that work doesn't work. The work can work if you're truly called to that type of work and you sit and do it. That work can work. But the healing is actually the process of all of the work and all of the time and all of the space coming together in a beautiful kind of a dance and being the whole experience of healing. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of time people be like, I meditated and I didn't feel better. Well, the meditation is just one of the tools in your toolkit. The meditation is not the healing itself, right? So just something to kind of consider. Don't do these things for the sake of healing. Do them for the sake of doing them. And then allow them to become part of the process of your healing, of the scope of your healing, if that makes any sense. So yeah, a lot of Four of Swords energy there, on, letting things go, trusting that the healing is a natural process, right? So talking about Abraham, also one of the things that she always talks about that I've said in these chats many times is the cork floats, right? The natural way of your experience here is lightness, is healing, is clarity, is power. This is the natural way. This is the flow. When we say go with the flow, that's the flow. The path of least resistance is leading you back to the self that you already are, right? People kind of get this false image in their head of like a damaged version of themselves and then a healed version of themselves. And that's going to be kind of a different person, or it's going to be something kind of different than what they already are, but it really isn't. You're already the healed version of yourself. You just may have trapped it or guarded it or walled it up in such a way that it's not being accessed as frequently as you'd like, or it's not being utilized in the way that you'd like. You want your pacifier back? Here you go, buddy. Hi. Morning. How's your nappy? Would you like your pacifier? Because you're sucking on your hand. Here. Open up. Good boy. You want that? Oh, yeah. What do you think? He yelled at the number 4. I don't know if you saw that, but he did. 4 of Swords. So that was the bulk of the message that I wanted to channel for you, but definitely coming into the season of masculinity, the season of masculine energy, and really questioning our relationship with it, like on the whole. He is in deep thought. That is true. Let me check the chats here. Now's a good time. If you guys have any questions, you can either unmute yourself or you can type them into the chat. Well, you spit it out, Buggy. Hey, hold that. I'm gonna let go. Yeah, Arlie said reminds us how our children always teach us. We have a lot more years of experience, but they teach us so much. That's so true. Yes, Janice, unmute yourself, ask some questions.
Hi. First of all, I cannot with this baby. He's so freaking cute. And I did see that 4
You saw him hold up the
right away.
phone.
Okay, first of all, I just want to like share for acting class, my teacher asked me to bring in something that like inspires me or spoke to me. It doesn't have to deal with acting, it can be any kind of creative thing. And did you see Victoria Monet's Grammy speech when she won her Grammy this year?
Yeah.
So she won Best New Artist, and she went up and gave her speech, and she basically was like, I'm Best New Artist, but I've been working for this for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And she was like, I liken myself to a plant, and she went on about how she planted her seed and how she grew through the soil, and like her whole like 5-minute speech was about your meditation basically, and I had chose to share that. So that's very interesting. That happened this week. So very interesting.
I also like
alignment.
know what I was gonna say with that meditation. It just kind of started and then I just went with it. So that was like not a planned thing either. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I got chills too. um, but okay, my two things are if you could like go into like what a divine masculine energy looks like or like what it feels like, because we have talked a lot about divine feminine, but I don't know as much about the divine masculine. And then also, I mean, you know me, I deal in extremes. So like I'm either doing my routine, I wake up, I meditate, I do the breath work, do the journaling, do this, or I'm doing nothing. Like, eh, what the fuck
Balance.
does a balance look like? I don't understand.
That is balance eventually, right? If you go to one extreme to another enough, eventually they balance each other out. But that's a little bit more stressful and exhausting, right? It becomes more like you swing the pendulum so far one way that you exhaust yourself, so you have to go the other way, and then you get so sick of yourself being exhausted, you swing the pendulum back the other way. And it's more like, I don't know, disorienting to kind of do it that way. But it does eventually lead to balance because that is the natural order of things. That state will return, right? So first, let's talk about the divine masculine energy. It's a good question. So we already know divine feminine is flow, right? She's creativity. She is the creation. So if you had to think of it in like kind of layman's terms, you would think of divine feminine is the artist. She's making the painting. And then the divine masculine is the person that is the agent that's going to sell the painting so that the divine feminine doesn't end up living under a bridge, right? So the feminine energy is the creative force. It is the movement. It is the flow. And the divine masculine is the structure, right? Structure like bamboo that moves with the river, that keeps it just like the banks of the river does, keeps it from just overtaking everything and becoming a force that's destructive instead of creative, right? So it is the loose structure, it is the focus, it is the leadership, right? It is the some sort of structure around the river that makes it a river. Otherwise, it would just drown us all, right? So the masculine energy is the energy that is holding that river in place. So and within yourself, you have both of these energies that are working together. You have the artist and the creator, and you also have the structure, right? The person or the aspect of you that can make it so you can do that creation on a schedule so that that painting actually gets finished and it doesn't just sit uncompleted, right? So when your masculine energy is out of whack, we have a lot of trouble following through. We have a lot of trouble staying consistent and remaining focused, right? So now one of the things I want to call into your understanding is consistency does not mean doing the exact same thing the same way every day, right? That is our programmed understanding of consistency. I wake up and do breath work at 9:45. I eat an apple, I go here. That's not consistency. That's maniacal structure. That is unhealthy masculine energy. That's forcing a rigid structure over an ever-changing atmosphere that doesn't feel good. It feels like, well, today I woke up sick and I don't want to do breath work. I feel like sitting outside, right? That forceful, not taking into consideration the elements that are constantly shifting, right? We talk about this all the time. The universe, your body, your internal state, everything in this planet is always shifting. So attempting to impose the same 9 to 5 structure every day will lead someone to imbalance and madness. It's almost why we never see anyone, no matter how much they love their job, thrive in a 9 to 5 setting. Eventually it leads to illness, to discomfort, to something that doesn't feel right, unless they find a way in their 9 to 5 structure to always be able to do things a little bit differently, right? To not have to sit at the same desk and do the same work and see the same people, right? The change that you can incorporate could make it work for you, right? But the exact same rigid structure, I mean, I've definitely coached people who eat the same meal at the same time and the same clothes. Like that's it. This is what we do and it works and we're not changing it, period. And that's imbalance of divine masculine energy. Divine masculine energy is working with your ever-changing divine feminine energy to first and kind of intuitively and effortlessly take stock of the landscape. How are we feeling? What is realistic? What's happening right in this present moment? The only moment exists, not what happened yesterday, not what we're working for tomorrow, but what's happening in this present moment and how can I structure it and how can I use it? Divine masculine's getting upset to work for me now, right? He's a perfect example of the divine masculine. He will only take notice of this moment. He doesn't care about yesterday or tomorrow. He cares about right now. you know, and he's gonna structure his life around this moment. Yeah. So your divine masculine is the hands that hold it in everything in place, right? So it allows us to have focus and have consistency, meaning consistency of intention and spirit in the way that you move. So for example, if you're consistent vibe that you're putting out, or your consistent energy you're trying to align with, say it's health and wellness, right? Maybe in the physical sphere. One morning it might look like having a celery juice, and one morning it might look like sitting at a big table with all your friends and enjoying some pancakes, right? It means this understanding of health will naturally balance itself. I don't need to count calories or keep track of what I did what. It means I can intuitively trust that a vibrational calibration towards health will allow me the consistency of output to consistently bring forward into my sphere what I need to remain in balance. It may not logically stack up. It may not look like what you did last year, but it's going to give you what you need in this present moment. Right. So the divine masculine is what is taking stock and allowing you to remain focused on health, essentially. Right. So you'll notice right away, if you have trouble doing that, then that probably means your divine masculine is out of alignment somewhere. And so the two extremes of the masculine energy, like I said, are that hyper rigidity where it's this way, or it's the other side of it being laziness, right? The other imbalance in masculinity looks like, what's the point? I don't want to do anything. Right? So it's kind of noticing where you're swinging back and forth to those two unhealthy experiences. You are so inquisitive. Would you like to see everyone on the chat? If anyone wants to put their camera on now, would be a good time. But he is looking for faces and places out there. Oh, look at Aunt Allie and Katie and Bella. Hello. Who's that? Can you see that? Who is that? Oh, who's that? You know these people? You met a lot of these people while you were in my belly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He said, yeah. Oh. But yeah, so is that getting more clear? Are there more questions around that, Janice? Is that kind of giving you more of an understanding of the energy?
Yes. And
Mhm.
I think where I get a little bit conflated or maybe extreme is in when I think of, because you're saying the consistency is about just staying on the focus and the mindset of, like, for the example, health and wellness.
Or the
But
frequency,
for me, what was that?
like the frequency of it. Yeah.
I think I conflate that with maybe discipline, and I'm curious, like in my messed up mind, I'm like, well, discipline means doing the same thing every day, or like sticking to a plan, or whatever my idea of that is. So I'm curious if discipline plays a part in this, and if it does, what does it look like?
So discipline is something that is controlled by the divine masculine. And again, like you said, your version of discipline is very much what we were programmed to think discipline is, right? When you even think of the word, it sounds like punishment. It sounds like if you don't do this, there's going to be negative fallout, right? That is how humans interact and how humans have programmed us to see discipline and having discipline and lack of discipline and what it all means. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound fun, right? And that's how we've programmed masculinity to be out of alignment, right? What discipline really means is your ability to remain focused, right? So like the way I would use discipline for myself in this case would be noticing when my thoughts or emotions start pulling my calibration away from the frequency that I've committed to. So if I've committed to health and wellness and I start thinking, I look fat, I don't feel good, I'm crap, my body doesn't look like it used to look, that is showing a lack of discipline to my commitment of remaining on a healthy calibration towards love and creation for my body, right? Those words, oh, he's pooping again. That means this is true, what I'm saying. I'm taking that as a fact from here on out. That, those words, that hatefulness, that darkness, that I'm fucked up because I didn't go to the gym, and why did I let this happen? And I said I was going to go and I didn't go. We start disciplining ourselves. Now I'm not going to have dessert. Now I'm not going to do this. that is the vibration of death, right? That kills everything. That kills your mood, it kills your motivation, it kills your energy, kills your self-image, it kills how the way you feel about the world, about food, about everything starts to die as we speak that language. That is not showing a commitment towards health and wellness. And it's not showing the discipline to notice when your thoughts and emotions come out of alignment with that intention, and to gently kind of brush them aside, to say, you hear him? He's on a poop fest over here. This is big what I'm saying. It's poop. It's big. It's a big moment. I feel that. It's literally about the discipline to just steer yourself back to course when you notice yourself going off, not never allowing yourself to go off course, because that is not working with the flow. That is not working with the river. That's deciding, I know everything, this schedule is gonna work, and that's that on that. And the fact is, that kind of discipline does work short term. So there is evidence for it working short term. It is just not sustainable, right? So short spouts of like hyper disciplined experience might be beneficial to you at points. That's your own decision to decide if you really want to swing the pendulum. You have to know that when it swings back, it's got to involve deep rest. Otherwise, we are going to come out of balance, right? The problem is, most of the time we make those decisions towards that type of discipline, that heavy discipline, out of fear that we don't look good, or we're not this, or we're not that. Those motivations are already out of alignment with the intention of health and wellness. Therefore, we have to repair all that and attempt to go forward in health and wellness from a place of loving the self, loving the body, loving the experience of life on this planet. And I don't think there's any more poop. It's just like poop affirmations left and right over here. Look at us. I think daddy has to change our diaper. We're gonna have to take a break because you are just full of douchey. Can go get your diaper changed? Yeah. Thank you. We are full.
Oh,
We're full. He didn't come through, but we are I mean, he pooped like 15 times. I mean, oh, no, he sucked on his arm. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, he doesn't want to leave. Oh, he just peed through himself too. He is doing everything for us today. So he doesn't want to leave the chat. He's crying over this. So he has to come back immediately. But yeah, so, it's understanding that discipline is ultimately the ability to notice when you have strayed from your heart center and gently kind of guide yourself back. This gentle guiding back is divine masculinity. It's the gentle hand that says, I don't really know if that hateful, dark punishment kind of restriction is positive, is a loving, is feeling free to me. It feels very constrictive. It feels very much like how I am now is not good enough. And that's not going to lead me to anything better, right? We have to already feel great and whole and excited, and then from that place create more of those things, right? We can't create health from self-hatred. And that's something to really understand, that the whole plan and the whole intention may be fucked from the beginning. And so the discipline is holding yourself to that. It's going to be difficult throughout your course of your flow through this experience. You're going to have doubts come up. You're going to have difficult emotions come up. You're going to have experiences where today you maybe feel like a failure, or you feel like you fell short, or you feel like you don't look as good as you looked yesterday. These are natural experiences that are going to come up. The discipline is deciding that you're never going to allow that to infiltrate the original intention and steer you off the course that you've committed to from love and from purpose, right? So it's going to be allowing ourselves to kind of weed that away and be disciplined enough to say, you know what? Today I had these feelings. They're not in alignment with our original intention. They're not even aligned with anything feels good. Examine it a little bit, or maybe you're not, but you're going to deal with it how it needs to be dealt with. And then you're going to take the disciplined energy to just guide yourself back to the original intention. I love myself. I love this life. I love this pursuit. And I'm moving from that place of love and intention. Is this resonating or making sense?
Oh, 100%. I think it's just, I mean, now I have a million more questions, but like my brain, I think, is like, what does that look like? Like if I'm set, like, again, health and wellness is the example, right? So the the worldly view of that is like, okay, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to work out, I'm going to, these are the steps to take. And then if I step out of the diet, then we start again tomorrow. Like that's what it would worldly look like. But in spiritual sense, I'm like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what does that look like?
I mean, it is a frustrating view of it because a lot of times you have to remember these programs were put in place in ways that we assigned ourselves to because they feel good to the ego, right? We love a checklist. We love you did it, pat on the back, right? When we release those parameters and we're not watching our weight and we're not watching our muscle tone and we're not watching our carbs and our macros, how do we know if we did it? Like, who's giving us the you did it pat on the back? We're not getting that positive reinforcement from worldly standards. That addiction to, confirmation of our rightness is a lot of the reason we fell into these programs in the beginning and in the first place, because the powers that be kind of realize, these people are easy to manipulate. If you give them a list and they get to put a check next to the shit on the list, and then they get a little grade or they get a little money or they get a little anything, they're going to do it. They're going to jump through fiery hoops and be in misery and come out the other side miserable. But that momentary hit of that drug, of that thumbs up, that's going to be enough. They're going to get like amnesia, and then we'll give them another list and they'll start on that, and you'll meet people like that who are like, first I did CrossFit and then I did this and now it's Soul Cycle. And like, you're like, that's cool. But like, you're going to eventually go nuts because this is just not a sustainable way of moving. So honestly, how do you gauge if you're on a spiritually healthful path? There's really no metrics. The only metric is that you feel better. Like, you feel good in your body. Maybe you experience more intuition, maybe you don't. Sometimes your intuition is blocked. Like maybe you lose some weight, maybe you gain some weight, maybe you get shorter or taller or fatter or skinnier. It doesn't really matter, and you wouldn't even really notice because those parameters don't dictate the success or failure of a spiritual life. It is more so about, it's hard to explain what it is. It's just like a knowing that you are in the right place at the right time. It is a calmness, it is a confidence, it's an ease that even when things are difficult, everything is purposeful, and you just really live life with a fully different feeling in your system that you intuitively know is rightness. You can feel every little imbalance, you can feel everything, and you can easily calibrate towards the next best option without punishing yourself, without feeling like, oh, fuck, I didn't do X, Y, and Z today. I failed today. I've got to start again tomorrow, right? Minute to minute, you're allowing your life to unfold and to make decisions that lead you to the next rock that is higher, or the next rock that is lateral or lower, or wherever you're supposed to be going. That's the thing, right? Like, all of these words fall short because sometimes the mission isn't up, the mission is sideways. And if you're fixated on going up, but the thing you're trying to get to is over here, now you're high, but that's not where you were trying to go and where you were trying to be led. So like, that's the problem with hyperfixation on a goal that does not change with the moments, with the days, with the present set of circumstances and parameters that are always changing. So it's kind of important to understand you are in a changing body and you are in a changing environment, and there cannot be a fixed parameter of what that looks like, right? It would be no different than, for the example of health and wellness. If I became fixated on what I weighed before I had my baby as my healthy weight, I looked good, people said I looked good, that must have been important, that weight, I'm going to use that number, right? Now I'm breastfeeding a child, my breasts are filled with milk, I've given birth to a child, my body has spread to accommodate that child. Is this wrong? Is this unhealthy? I'm literally nourishing life from my breasts. Maybe my weight looks different. And if I hold myself to that metric, I will always look like a failure or a fall short or an unhealthy person. But if I examine this moment for the fullness that as it is and how I feel in this body, I would never come to that understanding that I'm not in a healthful place. So it's the difference between the spiritual perspective that sees this as life and the expression of life, and the program perspective that sees it as weight or change or growth in a way that is not, programmed to be desirable. Is this resonating? More questions?
Always more questions, but no, it makes sense. And I think it's just a trust of like, if I do steer off the path, my habit is just to like berate myself. So
Mhm.
it's just trusting like to like how, that I'll know how to not do that.
I mean, there's no one path either, right? It's deciding how your body feels good right now. How is it serving you right now? How is it healthy right now? And for us, no matter where we're at in our health journey, we're alive. We're not in hospitals. We are moving. We are moving in the environment, right? We're having thoughts. These are examples of healthy bodies that are functioning, that are working. We're swallowing, we're blinking. Our autonomic nervous system, our central nervous system, they're working, in some way or another, right? In different degrees, maybe. But if you focus on the ways that they're working rather than on the ways that they're not, then you're going to find examples of health, of life in you. And as you're focused on that, you can expand that feeling. God bless you. Sneeze on the truth. Yes. Yes. So it's just about kind of like trusting that your body knows what it's doing in its way. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't really need, just like the river just needs the banks like to kind of gently steer it. The banks don't get involved and be like, no, we're doing a wave here, no wave there. We're going to scoop this way, not that way. It's just like, we just need a gentle outline that is basically this experience of self-love. And from there, your journey will be helpful. Like you don't really need to micromanage and get involved in the pinpointed thing that becomes obsessive and unhealthy and does activate imbalanced, not divine masculine energy, unhealed masculine energy, which guess what that ignites? Unhealed feminine energy. Fun spiral. We call that a spiral. So, very much like what we were talking about the other day, Janice, with your experience with dance. It started out as fun, creation, flow, divine, healed, feminine energy, and it quickly became imbalanced, unhealed masculine energy by becoming competitive or becoming derogatory to the self. And that's just something to notice and just like let it go. Focus on what went right, what went well. And that is going to lead to more of that, just like, the spiral of I hate myself leads to what? More I hate myself. The spiral of I love this and this is working leads to more of that. You know what I'm saying?
I could not find the mute button. Yes, no, that resonates very much. And honestly, like watching Everest become so activated is actually like so aligned with everything that's happening right now. It's teaching me a lot.
I know. He's so funny. You asked me another question, but I can't remember it because once I start channeling one thing, I get like amnesia. You asked me
You
about
kind of them both, honestly. And
what was the question?
it was like, what is divine masculine? Like I asked you to explain that more. And then like for me, like my routine is like either I'm doing all the things every day or I'm doing them not at all. Like what's the balance in that? So I feel like you somehow combined that.
Yeah.
Both those questions.
I mean, the all you need to do, like I said, is make small adjustments, right? So you don't need to decide, okay, I'm on a path where I'm doing all the things. Realistically, when you ask yourself, how does this feel in my body? Very few times is it going to come back and be like, yo, this is completely aligned. Keep doing all the things, especially if the things are restrictive, pre-scheduled experiences. It's very rare that that always comes back feeling good. Not am I getting validation and feeling good from the validation? Am I seeing results and feeling good because of the results? Not that. Do I feel good in my body right in this moment? Most people will say, and you'll hear it from fitness gurus all the time, you got to force yourself. You got to drag yourself. Even when you don't want to, you got to go. What does this teach you other than override your intuition? When your body says, we don't want to fucking do this, do it anyway. But that's not great, right? If you think of the divine masculine, that's masculine energy, right? So if you think of that as your father talking to you that way, and you say, it doesn't feel right for me to do this. And they say, well, do it anyway. Okay. How often does that go well? How often does that make us feel good? It makes us feel controlled. It makes us feel unsafe because we're getting a feeling that's like, this doesn't resonate today, even though I love it. I get that way with everything. I don't want to dance every single minute of every day. I never have. Sometimes I really want to go and sometimes I don't. And like, that was always my issue with teaching a scheduled class. you know, because I always felt like I gotta be in the mood for this every Thursday at 7. And if I'm not, I gotta go anyway. And that's where people start having the death of their love for art, because we put too much structure on it. We tried to hyper control a creative experience. Now, not only do I have to be there at 7, I gotta choreograph and be ready for that, whether I'm having a choreographic flow of creativity or not, you know, which is why now in this era where I can teach whenever I want and kind of pop up here and there, I'm much happier. I have much better creative experiences and I enjoy it much more, and people enjoy it with me much more. And it's just like, it's a spiral of that, right? So I do understand that's not always everyone's privilege in every moment. Sometimes we have to go places that maybe we don't want to be. And again, what I always suggest with that is find as much freedom with it as you can. And also adjust your perspective towards it as much as you can. So while I was teaching, by making that hour and a half on Thursday be something I felt immense gratitude for, I was in the mood to do it more than I wasn't. And I felt gratitude for the process of it, not for the fact that people were going to come and enjoy my class, because then if they came and they hated it, I wouldn't get the validation that I needed. Or if they just came and didn't give me praise, I wouldn't get the validation I needed to feel gratitude, right? I wasn't grateful for that. I was grateful for the ability to express and to learn and to be present and to move. I was grateful for aspects of it that were intrinsic to it. And that focus on gratitude made me want to do it 9 times out of 10. And that could be true about anything that you have to do, right? You have a job you have to go to. Make it, I get to go, you know, and find things about it that you genuinely feel gratitude for, how you get to connect with people, how you get to express yourself, how you get to use your intelligence, anything that you can find that makes this something that you're grateful for. And if you say you can't find anything, then quit. Tomorrow, just call them and quit, tell them I said so, you'll be fine. You're in the wrong place altogether. So yeah, I mean, you stop this swing by not making a massive swing in the other direction, by saying to yourself, you know what? My diet and the way I've been treating myself around food is way too rigid. Let me take 1 or 2 things out and create a little bit of freedom and some space, right? You can kind of picture it as these rigid experiences being like a belt that you've tightened to the final loop and you just can't breathe. And instead of letting the whole belt out, because the belt may still be valuable to keep your pants up, right? Instead of letting it out, we're going to kind of go notch by notch and notice when and where it starts to feel good again. It starts to feel like support and not restriction. Resonate? Message?
Yes. Message received.
Good. I'm glad. Any last questions? Thoughts, comments, concerns, resonance? Well. Any questions for Goosey Man? He would be happy to poop for everyone one more time.
Hi,
Hi, who's that?
Katie.
Who is it?
Katie.
Oh, Katie, hi. I don't see you anymore.
Yeah, I was just kind of saying that. Yeah, that definitely resonated a lot. I wrote in a question there, but like you completely answered it and everything you were saying. I know like right now I'm on my final year teaching placement and it is intense and challenging. And I find that, I did find there was a lot of expectations and it is very demanding, that I felt that this almost like blocked a sense of flow. But in saying that, after this chat, I feel like I could have maybe a little bit be trying to control the tempo of that. And like, yes, I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for that and that opportunity. But I'm also like really exhausted that I'm trying to get into that flow and into that balance a little bit more. And yeah, you know what? I know you had something up on Instagram as well that came into my head there, that more so a few months back when I was just getting into it, I almost felt like I didn't even feel myself when I lost a sense of balance. So, but I bring it, and so I'm just kind of now bringing in more of like habits that make it more sustainable, I guess. Yeah.
Just kind of hit you that all came through for you, like as you were like thinking about everything we were talking about. Just a little revelation.
Yeah, I had so many questions, but then all of that definitely answered that all, and even just how to move forward going into that. So
Well,
thank you.
You're welcome. So good to hear. Proud. No. What happened, bud? Hang on. I have a question in the chat here from Charlie. It says, what if the goal is something simple, like being able to do a headstand in yoga class, and you just practice and work to reach that goal? Is that bad? let's give to Dad. He's probably getting hungry soon, so I will answer this last question about this, like having a small goal and is it bad to kind of pursue it? And again, like all of this stuff, we talk about this all the time. The crux of these chats and all of this stuff is that nothing is good or bad, right? Everything just is. What we can use things for is to notice, first of all, why do we want to do it, right? So like, why do you want to do a headstand? Is it something that you just like had a calling to do? Is it something that you feel will like lead to something else? Like, are you trying to feel stronger? Are you trying to be impressive? Are you trying to be the person at the end that does the headstand the longest? Is it just a genuine interest to feel stronger? Okay. So a lot of the time here, the reason that you want to feel stronger is because you don't currently feel strong enough. So we want to make sure that that's not the motivation. That what's actually happening is that you feel really strong already, and now you're having fun with that strength that you already possess. If you did that, you'd go into yoga class and be able to do a headstand tomorrow, right? It's not something necessarily to learn, it's something to master, right? That's true about almost everything. Your body already knows how to do it. You're either going to do it or you're not. Most of the time it's fear that stops us from doing it. And actually that fear could be of falling and getting injured, but it also could be a fear of realizing the true depth of your strength. What if it really was true that you could snap your fingers and get this thing that you think you have to work so hard for? What if the illusion of struggle and strife and working hard to create really is just that? What if it is actually the blockage to the creation and not the gateway to it? That realization would be pretty fucked up, because it would mean that all the time that we spent working and slaving away has probably been for nothing, and actually has probably been moving us backward, right? More so, that's the real underlying fear, right? Because we worry, like, what if we really do see all of this power and we really have had it this whole time? That's gonna be a tough pill to swallow. It's much easier to think we don't have it, we had to work for it. And that's why we didn't have all this stuff before, because we hadn't worked hard enough. Once we put in enough time and work, we'll get the thing, right? It's a little bit easier on the energy of like, damn, I didn't just take it before because I could have, but I just wasn't letting myself. Why did I do that? Right? Like, but a lot of the time we really are our own biggest blockage. I have no doubt that if you tune into the energy of strength and balance and you believe that you are already that, then something like a headstand will literally come to you immediately. You will go into yoga class, you will put your head down, and you will become the pillar of strength and balance that you already are. And that should blow your mind if you actually do it, right? So that's all I'm saying. It's not bad to go in and want to be the strongest in class and be like, fuck all y'all, watch me do a headstand. It's not bad. I've gotten in my bag about things like that before, and it's led to growth, right? I learned the skill being petty or being competitive. That bad? I don't know. It's up to you to decide if it's bad or good. It's just a thing that happened. It's just a way I went about it. What I can say is during periods of my life where I lived in that energy, I wasn't really happy and at ease and at peace, right? Everything was kind of about the next big competition. Who can I take on now? Like, how can I prove my worth and my value now? It's so tiring. It's just like so exhausting, right? But so I would say, if you go about things from the place of the having, not the needing, then the creation of the things and the work towards the things is very fulfilling. I'll put it that way. So you can go into anything however you want, not bad or good, just is or isn't. And it's up to you to decide, how does this feel within me? Sometimes being competitive feels good. Like we say, there's healthy competition, right? In every experience, we have to play with some of the things. Like, we didn't come here into this physical incarnation to live like highly evolved spiritual beings every minute. Sometimes I tell someone to go fuck themselves, because I came into this physical incarnation to have an ego and to have a darkness that speaks to the darkness in other people. And sometimes I want to speak that language. And no matter how much I evolve or how good I feel, I like the ability to decide, I want to be competitive with you in this game, and I'm going to talk shit and I'm going to beat you just for the sake of winning. Because that's fun to do. It's a fun thing to play with. It's just not my consistent calibration. I'm not addicted to that experience. It's just something I can dabble in every once in a while. It's the addiction to accomplishment and work and struggle that is making things difficult on a large scale basis. Is this making sense? Yes, good, received. Love the fashion show. Yeah, he peed in his last onesie. I'm the only one in class not able to do it. So what, that's what I'm saying. Do you really want to do a headstand, or do you just want to do it because everybody else is doing it? That's something to consider. It's still not wrong. You could still be like, fuck this, I'm learning it because I'm not being the only one left out here like a butthole not doing a headstand. But that's different than having a calling to do something because it really speaks to you. Half the time you'll catch me with everyone doing something and I'm like, I don't want to do that at all, and I'm not doing it. Fuck all y'all, and as long as you have the ability to do that, and you're fine being like, not letting the fact that you can't do one means something about you and the strength that you possess, then you're fine. You're not going to spiral. But if it means something about you, everyone's better than you, they're further ahead than you, they're mastering something that you can't get, that is going to lead to fuckery. That's going to make you have an unhealthy relationship with yoga, and you're going to take a healing principle and discipline and make it something that makes you sick. So that's what we have to be careful of. I hope this is making sense. I hope this is resonating. I know that it is, actually. I can kind of feel that it is, but I really appreciate you guys calling me back here, refocusing me back here. I've been really excited to actually get back to 360 and get back to what I know that I'm gonna grow here eventually. But like I said, following my own advice, not trying to get too far ahead of myself, following the first plant, the first seed, that's what I'm doing right now. So that's really all I can say in the moment until it sprouts and you get to see it too. But yeah, Arlie, that's a great way to end. The key message here is have fun with your life, have fun with your experiences, have fun with this incarnation. Do not be at war with the physical body. Do not be at war with the elements of dark and light, with the duality on the planet. Accept that this is what it is for a purpose, and that it's really all working for you, right? And all of these physical programs that we've accepted, money, whatever, all of these things, they're fine metrics to play with. They are just dangerous when we use them to qualify our value as a being. Once that is happening, once you are defined by the amount of money in your bank account or the number on a scale or the amount of years of experience you have, you're already losing, you're already missing a very key ingredient in your own success and your own power. So kind of remembering that no matter how it feels, at the core of this, you are already a healed and aligned being. That is not something you need to become. It is who you are. Yeah. Now it is just a matter of figuring out how to access that more often than not. And even then, I would recommend 80-20. I would recommend knowing when to override that higher self and enjoy some of your lower instincts, having some fun with the primal nature of being human, with anger, with rage when it's necessary, just don't live there. And again, when you do access those things, don't decide they're bad and they're wrong, because you constantly end up playing this game of needing validation for everything and needing the okay for your feelings and for your decisions. You don't need anyone to tell you it's okay. Often I share things about how I acted, or the other day I told a story about how some guy told me off when I was holding the baby and I basically told him to go fuck himself. I didn't basically tell him, I told him to go fuck himself. And, some people were like, don't curse, don't say that, don't do that. And some people were like, good for you. You told him to go fuck himself. And ultimately, all those messages were interesting connection with other people, but I really don't care how anybody felt about what I did. And I'm not sorry, and I'm not upset. And I don't think that means that I'm that type of person. And it doesn't mean anything. It's just one moment in time. And I told you it, and that's that. and you take what you want, and that's that. You know, like, we can examine and let things be interesting, and we can also not qualify our actions based on other people's opinions of those actions, or even our own opinions of those actions. What we just need to do is notice quickly, right? And again, this action of noticing of your body, of your higher self, of everything taking stock, it's happening on its own, right? Journaling is a way to get out of your head, because a lot of people are running unconscious programs, like making lists of groceries and shit. So hearing your body tell you, that didn't feel so good, right? Or, oh, that felt pretty good, or whatever. We're not as tuned into that anymore most of the time, because it's been beaten out of us by the unhealed masculine that says it doesn't matter how you feel, fucking do it anyway. So what's the point of taking stock of how we feel? We have to do it anyway, right? So we're out of practice with taking stock of how we truly feel. And how we feel is drowned out with a billion other things: obsession over the past, fear of the future, grocery list, to-do list, a diet list, how do I feel? Who the fuck knows? It's list central over here, right? So journaling can be helpful when you're trying to weed through shit like that. But those tools are in no way necessary. Your body is naturally calibrating you towards the thing that feels a little better. It's instantaneous, right? Your body says, and then repair, and then repair. It's instantaneous. It's a cycle. It's the natural growth. It's the cork floating to the top. So if you can learn to rest in that and just not get in the way of it, not turn your boat around and start paddling upstream frantically, just stay in the flow, then everything will come, and everything is already in motion. It's already happening. Hopefully you can rest in that, really feel that energy for spring, and prep yourself in the next 2 days for what's ahead with this vernal equinox. It's going to be a powerful transition. It's not going to be immediate. It's a slow transition. It's a couple of weeks until the eclipse, and then after that, things start ramping up a little more, and by mid-April, we're flying through till August. August was the time that came through for me. It was a number 8. The strength card came up for me when I asked about that. So there'll be a lot of lessons coming through the summer, leading us to our understanding of strength and resilience, and what does it mean with our ability to tame our primal gut instincts, gut reactions, and have the discipline to recognize those emotions, not judge ourselves for them, not move immediately from them, and to stay the course of our original focused intention. So I love you guys. If you have any questions, if you want to do a private chat, if you need anything at all from me, I'm here for you. I can't wait to see you again really soon. Love you guys. Take care. Happy spring. You're welcome, guys. You're welcome. Love you all.
Bye, everyone. I love you.
Love you guys. Thank you. Bye, Mom.